Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Michael back at you guys with the real 1%. We got my main man Joe here today. How you doing, brother?
Doing all right, Michael. How are you?
Dude, I can't complain, man. Living the dream, one nightmare at a time. No, nah, man. Well, hey, we're back at you guys and girls. Appreciate everyone listening in for another episode of the Military to Civilian podcast. And today we actually have a special operations fellow here. Okay, guys. Not I don't know. It's not the first, not going to be the last, y'all. We're here for everybody. I'm here for everybody. It's an open door, and I just appreciate you, Joe, coming on and getting ready to share your experience. So, we're just going to jump right in so we don't waste anyone's time. And if you don't mind sharing to the audience, where you're from, what made you join the military, what branch of service you chose, and a little bit about your early service, if you don't mind starting off.
Sure thing, man. So yeah, born and raised in and around LA County. Ended up seeing a Discovery Channel documentary when I was 12 years old on the Green Berets, and thought to myself at 12 years old, I'm gonna go do that. So 95, I joined the Army. I was 19 years old and started out in the infantry, and then went, shortly thereafter to selection, and I was selected, and I became a Special Forces medic, and I did that for the better part of 2 decades. So ended up going to 7th Special Forces Group, did my ODA time there. Yeah, it was awesome. I was working the drug war in South America. So I did like 8 different countries, working with like DEA and other folks. And then ended up going to Afghanistan in like 05 and 06 with 7th Group. And was one of those dudes that you see, like we were out on horseback in 06, doing patrols like that. Like, I was like, what in God's, I was from LA, man. I'm from LA. And they're like, here's a whole bunch of horses. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that, man. I don't know what you want from me. And they're like, just take them out, go on patrol, and, don't die because you can't wear armor. So don't get shot. I was like, right on, man. This is great. So,
but if they would have gave you some low riders, you would have been good, right? LA, man, you get them low riders, you would have been good. You would have been out patrolling, man. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, 06 horseback patrols, man. I've never heard that one before. I joined the Army 07, but that's wild. I know the Special Forces always used to be riding around in those dune buggies and stuff wide open, but I don't know what's worse, that or a horse, dude. Probably a horse. You get the horse gets shot, it's going down, right? So it's like,
yeah. Or the horse gets spooked, it's gonna throw you off because, like I said, I'm from LA. I'm no cowboy.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you didn't go to the rodeo. You didn't go to rodeo training. So that's wild, dude.
That was literally my first rodeo. Right, it was Afghanistan.
Not bad, dude. A true Western. But nah, what? So did you think you were gonna do 20? Did you think you were gonna retire out when you first joined?
No, man. Like I thought, like I was just gonna, go get my Green Beret and like do that for a little while. And like while I was in the Q course for SF. Like that's when the towers fell, like right when I was at the end of my training, towers went down and like it got super busy and like we were just bouncing around. I was deployed for 9 months out of every year.
Wow.
And so like I was living the dream, man. It was so fast and furious that like I didn't even notice the passage of time. And then they were like, hey, it's time, man. Like I was still, like by 06, I had gotten recruited by the Special Mission Unit, and they were like, hey, we heard about you and we want you to come over. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And they're like, that's fine, just come over anyway. So like I tried out for a Special Mission Unit, and like I ended up staying at Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty now, for like 13 straight years, man. And like nobody does that. You know that. Like nobody stays for 13 years.
No, they do at Bragg and Campbell though, man. If you get stuck in that cycle, dude, you never. Yeah, I guess like in the soft community, you might never. I don't know how that works, but you'd be better than me to say it. But obviously, you got stuck in the cyclone, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it was busy, man.
So Special Missions Unit, that's like Delta essentially, or SMU.
You say so, man.
Whatever they say, I don't know, man.
Whatever. Yeah.
Everyone here has a top secret clearance, right?
Right. We're all
YouTube, TS, right? TS Poly. Yeah, we're good, man. But so looking back on it, everything just went by pretty fast. Then you would say,
Yeah, it went by. It was fast and furious, man. You know, that's kind of how it was for those like 12 years that I was bouncing around the world.
Were you married at the time?
Yeah, so my first, so I'm married like most SF dudes that I know. I'm on my second marriage. My first one, like that wasn't ever gonna go anywhere, just because, like I said, I was deployed 9 months out of the year, and like
Absolutely.
we grew apart, and so after like 7 years, called it quits. I was deep into special mission unit at that time, and just kind of continued on that way until it was time for a change of career.
Yeah, man, the military. I mean, that's probably like a double whammy being in that community and being gone that long. Because I mean, you know, the regular active army might be gone a year, come back a year, then go again. But that still sucks too, you know, for a family life. So you probably didn't know that going in, right? You got married, you're whatever. Did you really think it was going to be tough when you first got into it like that? Because I don't think some people really think it all the way through when they make that commitment in the military. So just curious to hear your thoughts on it.
I mean, I knew that like going into SF, that was a marriage of sorts, you know, and so
Yeah.
like anything outside of that, just because it's like SF is a huge commitment. Like it's not like any other part of the military, right? Like SEALs and SF and Marine Raiders, like they just have this different lifestyle where it's everything else is secondary to the mission, right? And so like I was just not gonna. I didn't realize that I was never going to be home. Like that was never really. I didn't know what I was getting into in that regard. And then like, you know, 9/11 had just happened, so GWAT was just kicking off, and I had no idea what that. I mean, none of us did. None of us knew that Afghanistan was going to be a 2-decade war, right? So like, I don't even know how to like prep for that or plan for that.
Yeah, so they make all valid points on that. Absolutely. What So when you guys were going all the time, 9 months, 9 months gone, come back 3 months. What was the stigma, or what was you were the medic? So what did the sick call or whatever you guys called it in the ODAs? What did that look like? Were people getting stuff documented? And if they seriously got injured, I'm sure there was some type of incident report or something like that. But in regards to smaller things, ankles turned, bum knees, stuff like that, what did that look like in your community?
So like as an SF medic or a SOIDC, like one of the things that we do poorly, like we are some of the best medics trained, by far, hands down. I've worked with tons around the world, and just like SF and SEAL medics are just phenomenal, except when it comes to paperwork. Like none of us, we're all too cool for school, and like we're not going to do the paperwork. So we do this stuff called team room medicine, where like I had a whole pharmacy. I had all my tools. I had everything that I needed to do basic, like I could do sick call, or I could do, you know, medical appointments or whatever. I would do physicals for my guys so they could go to schools. But yeah, it's terrible as far as documenting what was going on, especially if it was like something that was going to heal and it was fine. You know, if it was going to turn into something chronic later on, yeah, I would have them go see, you know, a specialist or something to get it documented. Cause like I said, I was not good at that. Not gonna lie.
No, absolutely, man. Appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like that could help somebody else that's probably in right now. They could change on how they're operating, because people could still be in that same way of thinking, I guess, or operating. Just take a knee, drink water type of deal, but not put anything in their records. But ultimately, we're just setting everyone up for failure when you do that, because it's kind of hard to go back and get paperwork that was never there, right? So, could you pull teeth too?
Yeah, I pulled a couple of teeth. I did that in Afghanistan. And one trip I was doing I was working with a dentist, and we were doing like a humanitarian thing where, I was like sitting in a mud hut, legs crossed, with kids on my lap. And like I would give them like massive narcotics so they wouldn't remember anything. Like if I had to see them come back again, that way they wouldn't be scared of me, type of thing. So yeah, it was weird.
You do that for the pain or the looks of you?
Both, a little bit of both, man.
I would do the same thing, man. So yeah, you gotta get them not remember. I didn't know that you guys. Well, I know you guys are like modern day, like you said, you guys are on a whole nother level. Medics that are in the soft community, you guys go to Flint, Michigan, where they have the most stabbings in America, right? To learn how to treat that because it's similar to a gunshot wound. Is that something sort of along the lines of why you go there?
Yeah, I mean, so like I did my schooling. I did one rotation in New York City, and
Okay.
then I did another rotation out on the Navajo Indian Reservation. So both of those were like 5-6 weeks each.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, like it came in like the Navajo Reservation. I worked with a surgeon who was formerly with the Doctors Without Borders, and like that kind of stuff came in handy because like she's telling me how to do surgeries in a tent in Africa. And then, fast forward like 5 years and I'm in a tent in Afghanistan and I'm doing an amputation all by myself on a little girl. And
Wow.
like, I'm going back to what I learned from this lady back in 2000. So like, yeah, it was like all the stuff that I learned, unfortunately, I needed to use in one way, shape, or form. But yeah, it was good times.
So like when you had to do that amputation, what did that feel like, dude? I'm sure you had like crazy adrenaline going, or I don't even know. I mean, was it all spur of the moment? Did they just like bring her to you right away, like, hey, or is it all just going down at once?
No, I mean it wasn't super traumatic like that. There was time to set up.
Okay.
Like most of the time when I was on the teams, I was not really present as far as I didn't really have like an emotional IQ or any of that stuff. Like there was no real feelings that were going on. So like, yeah, I'd get nervous and then I'd just stuff that down, or like we'd have somebody get killed and we would kind of have a ramp ceremony or something, and then you'd stuff that down. And the idea was like, just put it at the bottom of your rucksack and you'll unpack it later on. Um, so like, yeah, when it came to that girl, like I ended up doing two amputations, one on a little girl and one on like an old woman. It was just weird how it worked out like that.
Wow.
But like I had time, so I was able to sit down and do like the algebra required to do the anesthesia, because we didn't have, like, you go to a hospital now and they got like, an actual doctor who's got like machines and all kinds of robots and shit. And like I didn't have that, man. I had a 3x5 card and some algebra and some like dose calculation. Like that's what I was doing. So yeah, and like the first time that I did the math for the little girl, like I misplaced a decimal point, and like my plan was to knock her out for like 60 minutes, but like because I screwed up my math, like she was out for 8 hours. Like she was fine.
Yeah, she was out.
A lot longer.
Yeah. Hey man, give her more time to rest probably at that point. You know what I'm saying? Sure. It's traumatic waking up from anesthesia. Don't even know where the hell you are half the time. But yeah, well, dude, so when did you start unpacking the rucksack then with all that stuff that you got, all that stuff you have? Boom, boom, boom. Like,
yeah. So a little story. So coming back, so my last trip deployment was to Afghanistan in 2011. And it was kind of a violent trip. We ended up losing two of our operators. I was the medic on both of those guys. And whereas that totally sucked, there was nothing that I could have done any differently to save either one of those operators. But what had happened was the other folks in my unit lost trust and confidence in me, right? And so like if I can't be the medic if they don't have faith in me, right? I need these guys to charge into gunfire, through explosions, off of the back of the helicopter while we're taking bullets. And they do that because they know Doc's got my back. Doc is going to save me. I'm going to live forever because Doc is right here. And once they lose that kind of faith and confidence, then like, I got nothing, bro. I got nothing. All the tricks and the tools in my bag, they don't mean squat if I don't have the trust and faith in my dudes. So long story, I ended up like I was an E8. I was at 17 years. So I was looking for a cush desk job to ride out, until my retirement. So I ended up going to ROTC, and which is terrible. Because I was used to running a marathon full speed every day, like all day long, because that's what SOF is. It's just like you're moving 100 miles an hour at all times.
Right.
And I got to ROTC, and it's like, hey, here's your desk, sit here, will come back to you eventually. And it was so slow. It was so slow that it caused all of these thoughts, all of this emotion. I got into a place where like the voices in my head started to like really just yell and scream at me. And that was the beginning of me needing to unpack that stuff in the bottom of my rucksack. Cause like it got bad. It got really bad. Like I started using alcohol to cope. I started, engaging in like self-harm stuff. Eventually I had a suicide attempt, and a couple months later, I had a second suicide attempt where they put me into inpatient mental health buildings for like the better part of 18 months. So it was like when it got bad, like it got bad, you know what I mean? And that's when like I wasn't mature enough, I wasn't self-aware enough to like do that internal exploration on my own. So luckily, like sitting at a desk like that made all of the stuff just bubble up to the top, and like I didn't have a choice at that point. Like now I'm impatient, I don't have shoelaces, I have to ask somebody to like staff to supervise me shave to make sure I don't cut my throat. I'm like, dude, this is really happening. Like I am one of those people, man. And so like, yeah, that's how I started unpacking the ruck, bro.
Jesus, that's a hell of a road march, dude. That's a hell of a march. Seriously, man. It's like, and I'm glad that you shared that, and I'm glad you're still here, man, because that's definitely not the way out. We all know people that have done that. We've all probably had thoughts of that simmer, right? That you're not good enough, you don't deserve to be here, all that, but that's all a lie. So if you listen to this, it's a lie that you're hearing. You just need to figure out what the truth is, but that's not the truth. So what was your support system like when you like, okay, I guess it's like I got so many questions, but what was your support system like? One, and two, like, did the dudes that you served with on that team, did they ever come back around and like, dude, it's not your fault. Obviously someone's looking to put the blame somewhere, but damn, don't put it on your own teammate. It's not like you would ever want someone to drop like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah. So like when I left my ODA to go to the special mission unit, there was like some bad blood there. That it took me almost 17 years to heal that bridge with my ODA. So like we're kind of cool now, and some of them are still active duty, and I was able to start being invited to like retirement ceremonies for my guys, that's super huge for me. So like that part has been fixed. The dudes from the special mission unit, like that for me is still like that's a work in progress. That was 2011 and we're in 23 now, right? And so like I'm still working not only on baggage, but just like getting those connections, because like some of those dudes, like they got no time for me, man. And like I dig it. Like we're all in different places on this path to get us to wherever we're going. So like whatever it takes is whatever it takes. And I try to keep myself, available, and I'm not hidden on social media. Like if you look for me, like you can find me. I make it very clear in case like people want to interact with me again. But yeah, so it's kind of a work in progress, man. And like I didn't have a support system when I came out here. When I came from North Carolina out to when I taught ROTC, it was up in UC Davis in Davis, California. I had nobody. I was the only SF dude. I didn't know anyone at all. My family was like 800 miles away, and I didn't get along with my birth family. So like I had no support. I had no friends. I had no family, no wife, no kids. Like I was already isolated before the mental health issues started to bubble up. And so that has, been its own little progress of like creating Joe Hudak, the civilian, with friends and a support network and all of that stuff, and family and stuff like that. So now I have, a robust support network where I didn't before. Yeah.
Yeah. What got you to have that robust system now? Like, obviously did you start putting things in motion? Did you start like putting yourself out there? I mean, because man, let's face it. It's not that easy just to meet random Joes. Doesn't matter if they're in the military or not, dude. Like most people don't even look off their phone, never mind engage in a conversation to try to make a new friend, dude. You know what I mean? They're all on TikTok scrolling or walk right by you, can't say hi. But I mean, I know I found it hard. I even moved back. I'm not 800 miles from where I grew up. I'm 25 miles from where I grew up, and I don't have too many people. And but sometimes it's better to have a few people that are real with you than surround yourself by a whole bunch of people that just to say you think you're cool. But I learned that lesson when I left to go to the military. I thought I was so cool, and I'm sitting in Iraq at 18, and no one's hitting you up. I'm like, damn, I'm a fuck. They don't give a damn about me, dude. You know what I'm saying? They don't give a damn. No one. At the end of the day, no one's going to care as much for yourself except for you. You know, even no, a lot of people don't, but you do find a lot of people. Probably you found people now that do care about you. So you got your network, you got your close family that you created outside of the military, which is very important because we all need that, man. You need someone to talk to. You can't sit at your desk in ROTC and just think about all this crazy shit that's gone on in your life. It's not going to bring positive thoughts, right? Obviously, you had to go and take care of yourself, but props to you for doing that and sticking through it because it's not easy. And you didn't even have to say that. So respect to you for sharing that as well, because a lot of people try to mask it, but there's no shame in that shit. I've been to mental health before. I've been, even when I was in the military, but some people used to say, I talked to sergeant majors before, and they say they used to have another door in mental health for the higher enlisteds to go through so they wouldn't see anyone else because it's like it's all a mind fuck, man. It's like, dude, we all need someone to talk to, man. It doesn't matter if you're a General Petraeus, Lloyd Austin, doesn't matter, dude, or Joe Schmo. It's like we all need somebody, dude. So, like, what did you do to get the ball rolling to get that robust network going? Can't talk.
I mean, so like my mental break was like the worst thing and the best thing that ever happened to me, right? Because like as an inpatient going through like the Army mental health system or the military mental health system, like I had to do a lot of introspection. I had to do a lot of learning about myself. I had to do a lot of communicating and talking and being vulnerable. And so, and plus like special operations has their own, what they call the Care Coalition, right? And so the Care Coalition is like, if you know, like the Wounded Warrior Battalion or something like that, like where people get hurt. But like the Care Coalition, they hand walk every single operator through the whatever fire they're being presented with, right? Are you an amputee, or you got mental health issues or whatever? Like the Care Coalition, they will assign you a personal case manager and they will get you to wherever you need to be. And in my case, like I had people, fighting for me and keeping me as sane as possible and making sure that I was taken care of. And so like the Care Coalition, they took care of me within the military to make sure that I reached my 20, that I got my 20-year retirement. I got 100% for being as nutso as I was. And like, so they took care of all that. All I had to do was focus on me and just being vulnerable and opening up. And so as I did that, one of the things, I moved down to San Diego for like a treatment through the Navy. And so I was doing the Navy treatment for mental health, for PTSD. And like I started becoming comfortable with speaking in public. And if you've ever, you do a podcast, like public speaking is not easy for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So like after I retired and I was completely out, and the military was like, well, we can't do anything more, so we're turning you over to the VA. Good luck with that. So I was like, well, I'm not going to get much from the VA after like the first 6 months of being in the VA. So I had learned enough, being inpatient, like I just need to take care of myself. And so I just started talking and telling my story, kind of like I'm doing here, but for like different and varied audiences. And that just led to connecting with other people in like-minded industries. And like I ended up going through the Honor Foundation for like some transition work in the business world, which helped me get, jobs and work for pharma for a little bit. And like, I got into storytelling. So I work with like a literary nonprofit where like, I just help people tell stories. I told my story. So that's the thing, is to just like get out of my comfort zone, start meeting people, establish relationships, maintain those relationships. Because to your point, like it is super hard for adult dudes in the United States to like make dude friends. Like we don't have that. So
you're right. So the foundation that helped you, all the soft community walk everything, are they military members themselves?
Yeah, so the Care Coalition, as far as I remember, the Care Coalition is a bunch of former soft people, both like operators and enablers, and they are like their GS or their contract, and they help walk folks through in order to get what they need. So like I had like when I was out in North Carolina, I had like there was an army dude that was helping me out, and then when I came over here to San Diego, my case manager from the Care Coalition was a former Navy SEAL. So like it's always somebody in the community. So like there's already that like bond and a certain amount of trust, makes it easier, kind of greasing the skids.
Okay. And to touch on the Honor Foundation, got to shout out Brage because she's the one that put the ping out for you and a whole bunch of other people. And I interviewed her, and she's a great lady. She's always doing great work for the military community. So, how did you end up finding out about the Honor Foundation, essentially?
So it was through like public speaking. One of the mentors for the Honor Foundation was at an event where I was speaking, and she got in touch with me after the event, and she's like, "Hey, there's this Honor Foundation. It's for Spec Ops guys. Like, if you haven't gone through it, go ahead and like check it out and see what's what." And so I gave him a call, and like I was, and then I got accepted to the program, and it was like a 4-month program, which is like a really short overview of like an MBA course, and then a whole bunch of networking in there.
Okay.
And so I was in like the 13th course, and they're on like 60 something now. So like it's been a minute, and I was happy to do it. But yeah, that's where I met Brage, and Brage is in the biotech industry and the pharmaceutical industry, and so we kind of hit it off because of my background in medicine. So yeah, it's been great.
No, that's awesome, man. So anyone that's in the soft community and they're looking to pretty much plug themselves into a great organization, look up the Honor Foundation. I'm sure it'd be a good fit for you. I'm sure you're going to find some type of value, right? I mean,
oh yeah, for sure.
Walk away with something. So yeah, that's good. When did you start having like the aha moment when you were unpacking that ruck to just like figured like I just gotta, at the end of the day, you got to look out. You're going to be the best advocate for yourself. Like, did you have that moment when you were like in and out of the facility, or sort of what that look like?
I mean, so like I spent my last couple of years on active duty going through like the mental health system in the military. And then when I got out, like I was kind of on my own. I started like there's something like 11,000 nonprofits here in San Diego County, and like a good majority of them are veteran and military focused. So like it was pretty easy once I got plugged in to the nonprofit industry to find stuff that I needed, and I could like take care of myself that way. And honestly, like my wife is amazing, and she has always been she's been there for me and just kept pushing me and believing in me. And it's not been a fun journey, but like it's been a necessary one. And I think like the biggest aha moment came like about a year or so ago in like last April, when I went and I did psychedelics through a different nonprofit organization for that takes soft veterans and takes them through psychedelic treatments in order to get past PTSD. And like that was probably out of all of the decade of stuff that I've done, medications and chit chat and dolphin therapy and all kinds of other shit, you name it, I've done it. That one stuck the most, and I feel like, okay, yeah, now I feel fine. I feel like this is good. I can go about, I can give back. I can help people in my own way now. So like, I think that was the biggest aha.
Wow, that's great. That's you the first one I've heard say anything about that. Is it you take it like you do like one dose, and then how long will it last you for? Like, is it something you have to do constantly, or is it something like daily? I mean,
so like anything else in medicine or mental health, like it's every patient is different, right?
okay.
So like for me personally, there were 2 different psychedelic medications that they were using. One was called Ibogaine, and the other one is like a 5-MeO DMT. And
Okay.
so it was 1 dose of each.
Okay.
And I did that like a year ago last April, and like that's all I needed. That was it, man. I had some, I learned what I needed to learn. I let go of what I needed to let go of, and I was able to get, you know, a lot of peace.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. So it's like you got a one-time occurrence, boom, you have the aha moment, which I have heard people had on psychedelics. They have that clarity, they have that, whatever they have, and you're off to the races after that, right? Pretty
Yeah,
much.
for sure. Like what I say about psychedelics, and from my experience and my point of view and what I've seen, is that psychedelics are not. It's not a silver bullet. That's not gonna like cure. It's not a cure all.
Right.
What psychedelics did for me is it removed all of the obstacles that were blocking my path to using the psychological tools that I had been given over the previous decade. Right. So once psychedelics removed all that baggage, I was able to like do all the stuff that I had learned as an inpatient or through chit chat therapy, and like it made sense, and I had the space in my mind to do that.
Okay, absolutely, man. Appreciate that. Did you ever start thinking when did you start thinking about what you wanted to do after service? Like, did you ever say, oh shit, or did you say you're just going to retire? I mean, I don't know, because you're going like, it's just you went from one extreme to a whole another one. Like you said, you went from soft to ROTC, dude. I could see someone going from like a regular Army brigade, whatever headquarters, and go sit there at the desk, because that's what they do. That's what they do at a regular brigade, battalion, company level. If that's your job, so. But for you, like you went from that, and you go like, holy shit! Like you got you're unpacking that ruck, you're doing everything. Did you ever start thinking about, all right, well, when I get out the military, or when I'm done with this is what I plan on doing? Did you ever have any plans?
No plan, man. Like I was certain that I was, after doing a couple rotations overseas in the GWAT era, like I was pretty sure like I was gonna Lieutenant Dan it. Like I was just gonna I was gonna die somewhere overseas, and like that was what was going to happen. And so like every day after that I haven't died is kind of like I don't know, man. I don't know. And so like for me, like I never had any plans. So I sat, like after I got back from that psychedelics a year ago, like I sat down in my backyard, and I just sat there, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm going. I don't have, like, my finances are taken care of because of my retirement. But
Right.
like, as far as like, what is my purpose? What am I doing? Like, oh, your purpose is to pass the butter. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. That was obscure. I appreciate you getting that.
Yeah, you're good.
But like, yeah, so I sat there for a little bit, and then like my phone started to ring, not immediately, but over the next couple of days. And so like now I'm involved like in 5 different jobs where I don't make, most of it's nonprofit. One of them is a startup, so that's free basically.
Absolutely.
And it's just ways that that I feel good giving back, and I can be me, and I can use my skill set in a positive way. I can be there for the veterans, because I like 3 or 4 of the jobs that I do are for veterans. So like I'm just happy doing that, and that's fine.
Absolutely. What you mean? You said your phone just started ringing. Like, did you ever put it out there that you wanted to be a part of these groups or anything like that, or did you sort of just like one just called, or how did that even happen? Because obviously you got involved in those groups, but how did you get your first shot at, I guess, going out there and sharing your expertise and stuff?
I don't know, man. It's magical. Like it just happened, man. Like it was, they have a saying in improv comedy, right? You just respond to everything with yes and. And so like people would call me up and they're like, hey bro, I think you should go have coffee with this person. And I was like, yes, and I'll bring a notebook and we'll take notes and we'll see where it goes. And all, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like, not everything was led to a job or something like that, but everything led to a connection. And those connections like panned out, and people were like, yeah, I don't have anything for you, but I got a friend who does. And it's not like I was searching, man. I was kind of like, I would like to have a hobby or something to do. And like the universe is like, all right, hold on. Hold my beer. I got you.
Yeah. And it started all happening. But like you said, once you get that ball rolling, man, it's not about what someone even knows. It just, if they know somebody else, like you said, you got those calls and you got that, that opportunity to network with someone and make something happen. Do you think your biggest the biggest thing that you struggled with when you got out was like your sense of purpose, or was it something else combined with that?
I mean, mental health issues notwithstanding, and like the PTSD that I was dealing with, like that was problematic. But then, um, yeah, like a sense of purpose, a sense of like a sense of worth, really. Like my whole thing was when I was 12, I wanted to be a Green Beret. So I climbed that hill and like I was on top of the mountain. I'm like, well, shit, I didn't have another plan, right? Like you can't,
Absolutely.
you climb a mountain, you can't stay up there, right? You got to come
Yeah,
down and find another.
absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't have another one, and I was like, well, if I'm not good enough to still be a Green Beret, then I don't know what I'm good enough to do. And that's like, nah, you can't think like that, bro.
So you never thought about like, some people go, even regular military people, they go the contracting route, right? Did you
Yeah.
ever think about doing that when you just kept like, hey, I want to be a Green Beret for 20. Now I'm going to get out and do another 20 as Blackwater or whatever, Constellas, whatever you want to do. Did you ever think about doing contracting, or were you sort of just done with it?
I mean, by the time I got out, by the time I got out and had gone through enough mental health treatment, like I was pretty done with the idea of wearing body armor and carrying a gun anymore.
Yeah.
So like, I think I haven't gotten a job offer for that since probably like last year. But like it still pops into my inbox. People are like, "Hey, I know who would be good for this. Hey, Joe, what are you doing right now?" I'm like, "I'm not doing that. I'll tell you that much."
It'd be different if you go sit on a beach somewhere with no body armor, but yeah, you're not going to Niger or something like that now, right?
Well, like one of the things now is that like rich people all around the world, they have the yachts, they have the Rolexes, they got the bling, they got all of the jewels, they got the money. So like one of the new fashion accessories to show off how rich you are is to have a personal security detail. Whether or not someone hunting you, that doesn't matter. Like the idea is, I'm so badass, I need protection, and I'm so rich, I can afford these former Green Berets and Navy SEALs and all this. So like, yeah, I would get those kind of offers. Like, hey, it's like $2,000 a day to go to the Dom Rep and like hang out there with some rich dude. And like, I don't want to be some dude's Rolex,
Yeah, yeah. Act like you're a damn like a personal security pet or something like that. Like, yeah, right. I feel you on that. I guess I've never even looked at it like that. But you're right. Like, who's going to take Floyd Mayweather's head? No one's coming for people. Yeah, they come with an entourage of 100 people, man. But you're right, man. That's interesting to look at like that. Damn personal security pet. Like, damn, good for you, man. I mean, the money's good, but the money's not always everything. I'm sure, like, you'd rather have happiness and a sense of purpose in your life rather than just making money and saying, I don't really like doing this.
I mean, honestly, what I've found in my life is that time is the ultimate commodity. Like, I'll make more money, but I can never make more time.
Never, dude. That's the one thing we cannot get it back, dude. You can get money back, get everything else, but that time, once it's gone, it's gone. So, at least you had your stuff in order. You got your disability, you had your retirement, but a lot of people don't. Some people might not retire. Some people might not try to get their disability. And then you're ultimately trading your time for money because you need the money to survive. And that's the lowest form of making money. And we've all done it before. I've all done it for way less than I know I'm worth, but it's kind of hard if you have no other options, So, and you think it was easier for you? Do you know anyone that got out that had no retirement, that had no disability that you served with, that you just saw kind of go through the meat grinder?
I mean, now, like one of the programs that I work for is a court program, and my 2IC, or my second in charge, she works in the VSO.
Okay.
And so like I hear from her about like, how hard it is for people to get like VA ratings and to like go through the whole rigmarole. And it can take years to get a claim filed and then reviewed and looked at and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, dude, that's not, why does it have to be that way?
Dude, I wish I knew the answer, because they say the VA is backlogged, but they've been outsourcing for years. But the whole thing is just a crazy complex scenario. You see somebody that might not even work for the VA to do your claim. They write notes. They send it to the VA. Someone that never even talked to you, they make a decision on what your thing is. So a lot of people get discouraged by the VA, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's what the VA per se they want people to discouraged by them, because I think they are ultimately there to help. Hopefully, at least you try to be optimistic about it. But if you don't take that time to take care of yourself, like you said, it takes forever sometimes, man. But that's why it's so important to do your intent to file. If you listen in right now and you're thinking about doing a claim, you can get on va.gov and do an intent to file, or you could call 1-800-827-1000. Tell them, your personal information, and just let them know you're intending to file a claim within the next 365 days so you can get that back pay. If you start today, even if it takes 4 years, but you never did an intent to file, you're going to be missing out on all that money. So that's sort of just like a little plug to just take care of yourself. But you're right, man. It could be better, and it should be better, because a lot of people are getting discouraged. And there's a lot of answers that I even got to try to find. Like, what do you do when you find a homeless veteran that's a true veteran that's on the side of the road, dude? That they say they can't get this or they can't get that. It's like we got to have something better, man. They can't go somewhere and have a bed. We had a bed when we were in basic training, and when we were deployed, we had a fucking cot or a blow up mattress or whatever you slept on, MRE box. We can't do the same thing now. Like, come on, man. It's crazy, man. It's sad at the same time, but I wish I could do more. Maybe one day we all can make those, instead of making those camps for all the Afghan refugees, which they did do. They don't put that on the news, folks. But I know people that were contractors. I was working as a contractor. They called me, hey, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. We're out here in New Mexico. What you doing out there? Oh, we're building these camps for the refugees coming from Afghanistan by the plane loads. Well, what are we doing for the vets? What are we doing for the American vets that come up, that are sitting out there? So I don't know, something just to think about. But what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, if you don't want like to take care of vets, then don't send them in the first place. And like, the idea that the DOD has like an $800 and some odd billion budget, and like the troops, like your E1 through E3, are on like food, like SNAP and welfare and stuff like that. Like, there's an issue with money, man. It doesn't need to be like this. Like, if you gave, like they rolled over the DFAS pension, right? So it used to be like I got a 20-year pension.
Yeah.
But like now it's just turned into a 401k, right? So like it doesn't, if you entered after a certain time, like you don't even have a pension. You have like a 401k that rolls over to your next job. Right. Like, wow, why does it need to be like that?
Taken away. Well, they need to do something. It seems like the headlines are saying the Army and the Air Force are like, the numbers are down. They're having trouble putting people in. So I mean, I don't know, man. Glad we did our time, and we're on to bigger and better things now, man, because that's just, but for the people that are in, or the people that are thinking about going in, it's all stuff to think about and to kind of get back rolling. You said something earlier. You said you never had the plan to descend the mountain, right? And like, I guess as you learn in business, before you go into a business, you should have an exit strategy. So that's no different than going into the military in my mind. Like, obviously I was 18 when I joined. I thought I was going to do 4 years, get my school paid for, see a little bit of the world, but I did 8 and did a little bit longer. So that just shows you how plans change. But I had a okay exit plan. I had a job lined up. I had terminal leave. I was doing good. But what happens when you get your girlfriend pregnant? That whole plan goes to shit. So like, you got to have plan A, B, and C, man. You got to have different. I mean, we plan so much for missions and like do all these rock drills, and I'm sure you know it better than anyone, dude. You guys have done so many dry runs and all, or live runs, all that. For all these missions, war on drugs, war on terrorism. Well, why are we not doing the same thing for ourselves? Like, what? Okay, let's brainstorm. Let's think about this rock drill. Let me think about what I'm going to do when I get out. It's just sort of something that I think people take too lightly, and then we get there, the money stops coming in. You're not going to formation or work or whatever the case may be, and you're just out there by yourself, dude, and you don't really have that first sergeant or whatever the case may be, the platoon sergeant to call. Maybe you could call them, but they're going to the range today. They don't give a damn if you got to go to McDonald's to go to work, dude. You know what I mean? Like, they're going. They might see you at lunch or something like that, but dude, you're off to the other side. So,
yeah.
what would you say to the younger you, or just like even anyone that's still in, like what would be a little piece of advice you would give them for life after the military? Because obviously you did 20 years. You said it went by fast. I did 8. It sort of went by pretty fast. But what would you have to say to them?
I mean, yeah, I mean, to your point, have an exit strategy. Do it till it's not fun anymore. That's the military. It should be fun. Recognize like I thought as an SF dude, like I was gonna have like all kinds of opportunities when I got out, but like that's not the case, man. Like the majority of my didactic training in the military wasn't accredited, so it doesn't count, right? 5.5 years, I was like, nah, I got to do it all over again. I was like, so just recognize, like, there's a huge, like, the military and the civilian world are two totally separate entities, and like there's a lot of opportunity to get education and training and stuff like that while you're in the military, and like right when you get out, like the VA, like their voc rehab or their VRNE, whatever they're calling it now, like
Yeah.
that stuff is good. There's great, like the GI Bill is good, like all that stuff, like, but just when I went in and when I was in, like that phrase or the motto, mission men than me, like you put yourself way, way, way in the back and you don't think about yourself ever and you don't take care of yourself. Like those days, those got to go, man. Cause that's just that's not good. You got to take care of yourself, and it seems selfish, right? When the military is like, well, you got to put yourself last and you have to think about the mission always. And it's like, yeah, but do you? Like,
For real though, because when you get out, it's like, dude, the mission and the men are gone, but the me's still there. So it's like, what really trumps what? Because at the end of the day, it's always going to be you. There's always like, dude, no matter if you do 30, 8, 4, whatever, there's life after the military, even for the longest standing general. And you got to have a plan, because a lot of people, some people think they're entitled just because they're a sergeant major or a general just to get a job right off the rip, Fortune 500 or whatever, corporate America, 6 figures. And that, like you said, that's not always the case, man. They don't care. You have sometimes you might not even have the proper resume because you got all military jargon on there. You know what I mean? You got to learn how to sort of flip that switch, turn the civilian light back on, and be like, okay, they don't really know what all these terms mean, from the military. So,
yep. I think that's the important part. What you said, man. Like the shortest takeaway, the quickest thing to remember about life after the military is that there is a life after the military.
Yeah.
Like for me, as in SF, we do a shit ton of planning, man.
Absolutely.
And we do contingency operations and what ifs and all of this kind of jazz. And like, if I'm going to plan that hard to go into a training event in Georgia, then why am I not planning like that to go into the rest of my life? You know what I mean?
That's $1 million question, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like, why go so hard for everything else and not for yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, no, that's great. What you working on now besides all the groups that you're volunteering and sharing your expertise and your stories with? What else you got going on?
I mean, honestly, that's the biggest thing that I do is like I work with veterans in whatever capacity that I can, that I'm presented with. I like, you said you have a 7-year-old son. I have a 7-year-old son. So like, that's what I do, man.
Absolutely, dude. Full time, man. Can't go wrong with that. Though. It's like you guys. It's like having your own army, dude. Got a little private.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, man. For sure. But like it's for me, it's a blessing and it's a second chance, because I recognize like I missed all of that in my first marriage because I devoted everything to the army, and like now there is no army, so I get a mulligan and I can redo it and I can do it right and I can be home and I can raise my kid, and like that's important to me, is to have white space on my calendar, right? So I can take me time, I can take my own mental health days, I can be there for my kid, I can be there for my wife, I can garden, I can be here for my cat, like the whole shebang, man. I'm not deploying, I'm not gone. Like I try not to be, out late anymore. Like I don't want to see midnight if I don't have to. Like it was totally different.
Yeah, no, good for you, man. And it seems like you're doing your thing. So good. Thank you for being, a good dad too, man. A lot of that's tough to come by nowadays. Parents are always working or think about the military life, dude. I remember my friends would drop their kids off before PT and get them like at 5 o'clock, man. It's just the time. Like it all goes back to time. And when you're in it for the everyday grind of I got to pay my bills, or if you're in the military, you can't take days off unless you put your leave in. You can't just be like I'm calling out today. So it's
Right.
like you're just stuck in that damn grind, dude, and all that time is gone. But what can you do if you're not million? If you can't just sit around and do nothing and expect all your bills to get paid. And so a lot of people make that sacrifice for their family. They're sacrificing their time and their effort so they're to give their kids a better life. Most people are doing that. So oh man, just look back and see how fast the time goes. I saw one of my friends in Orlando, and their daughters are damn near grown, and I knew them when they were first born. They're now juniors and seniors in high school, and it's like, holy shit, where'd the time go? So like,
That's
happened,
like
dude.
me. That's like me going back to Tampa to watch my guys like retire. Like I remember when they were like EIOU nothings and they walked in a team room and like here it is, this snot-nosed idiot is like an E9 and he's retiring after 20 years and he's got like a 4-star general as his like master of ceremonies in his retirement ceremony. I'm like, what happened? What
Yeah,
happened?
for real. Seriously, they're all so you come to they're all retiring. They're all coming down to the beach in McDill to retire. Not a bad place, dude. I used to try to get there as an Army. I was a cook in the Army, but it ran by Air Force. But that's like 45 minutes up the road from me. So it's like being stationed at home. And it's a nice dude. I'm sure no one complains about McDill, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of my dudes they're over in Destin now. Seventh group moved
Okay.
out of Bragg and they went to Destin, and so they got a nice place there. Like it's still an Air Force base, but like they grew like an entire place for the Army guys.
Okay. Hey, give me one little story real quick from your time, man. I know you got a whole bunch of them, but give us a good one. Give us a good one that comes to your mind. It doesn't even matter what it's on. Just give me something that pops in your head, dude. I gotta hear something.
So like it's more of a funny one because like we already did like the amputation, so we're not gonna talk about that shit anymore.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
like same trip, so like it's '05. We're doing these key leader engagements. Like our whole thing in SF was to like get out into the populace and like work with the locals because like it was just my team out in the middle of fucking nowhere in Afghanistan, and we had like our own fire base, but we needed to like get out, meet the people, like in like the regular military, like the leaders tell the juniors what they're going to do as their mission, whereas in like special forces, like we would go out and we would meet people and we would talk to locals and they would tell us, we would gain intelligence that way, and then we would plan our missions and we would just get approval from higher. We say, hey, we learned this, we want to do this, and they're like, yeah, go forth and dominate. But like, so on this, we were like out and we were on horseback. And like I said, I'm from LA. I'm no cowboy. So like, this is one of my first times doing a horse patrol, and we were scheduled to go like 16 hours.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a long time to be on a horse. And so like, we get into this little village, and everybody's like, "Oh, the Americans are here." And I remember we're just kind of like sitting on top of my horse, and like I hadn't really tightened what's known as the girth strap, which is the belly strap that goes around. And so I'm sitting there in the saddle and I feel myself start to like slide over. And I'm like, I can't catch myself at this point. And like now there's like a whole group of like Afghan civilians and they're all like coming towards us. And there's like maybe 50 or 75 of these people. And they're like, hey, what are you guys going to do? And I'm like still in the saddle, just slowly going down on the horse. And like eventually, like I go all the way from like 12 o'clock all the way down to like 6 o'clock, and then I fall off underneath the horse. And like the Afghans, I'm thinking to myself, here we are. It's the beginning, it's early part of the war, and they're like, hey, the Americans are coming. They're going to help us out. They're the experts at everything. And then I fall off the fucking horse, and they're like, are you sure? Like, is there a B team? Like, do we have anybody else that we can use? So that's my horse story.
Dude, hey man, props to you. 16 hours on a horse, holy shit. I didn't even know that, man. You like the old cab units or something like that. Like, get on these horses, man. Like, damn, dude. I don't even know this, but that's a good one. Did you have to go out on them a lot? This is like something that you guys did often after you.
There was a good couple times we would go out. It depends on the terrain. The idea is to never set a pattern. So you always want to keep the bad guys guessing. And so if we'd go out on helicopters, we'd go out in Humvees, we'd go out on ATVs, we'd go out on horseback, and we'd take like different routes depending on what platform we were using. So yeah, it's just fun to like trade things up and keep them guessing.
Okay. What was your favorite school that you went to in the Army?
Favorite school. Probably the one that I use the most would be SEER school.
Okay.
So when in the SEER school realm, there's actually 3 different ones. So there's the SEER school that everybody knows, which is like Camp Slappy, where they beat you. That one was fine. Sure, learn to take a punch if you haven't already. But like that one's good as far as survival and just like, you know, staying in certain patterns of thinking. But the one that I really enjoyed was the SEER school, which was all about lock defeat. So like it was how to pick locks and pick handcuffs and like do all that stuff. And like my final exam for that was I was handcuffed and then chained to a concrete floor with a padlock. And that was inside of a large dog kennel that had a padlock on the outside, and that was inside of an external shed that had a deadbolt and a door lock. And so my thing was, hey, you can graduate once you pick your way out of all this stuff. So I did that with like a bobby pin.
So you pretty much became like Harry Houdini.
A little bit, yeah. It was super fun.
That's pretty badass, though. Now it's interesting. I talked to some other guys when I was in overseas working, and they were soft, and they were telling me, they're like, yeah, we could pick any lock. I'm like, oh, shit, I didn't know. Hey, good for you, man. Good
gotta do it, man. It was super fun. I loved it. I actually got a chance to use that. Like in like 2009, there was a big storm that came through Nashville, and it flooded the Grand Ole Opry.
I was there, dude. That whole mall flooded, and they had the boats going down the fucking I-24, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We ended up. I was in the SMU at the time, and we went over and we were doing training in Nashville. And like Dolly Parton, she was like, "Hey, I got to renovate this whole building anyway. It's a total loss. Like we wanted to use it as a training event." So I was in there picking locks in the Grand Ole Opry. We were blowing doors, like shooting stuff. It was awesome. It was super fun. And that's the only time I've been to the Grand Ole Opry was to like fuck it up.
Damn, not bad. Not bad. Be such a nice place. Go to jail if you did that on any other day. You're there doing it and get paid. So hey, not bad, dude. Yeah. I remember that, dude. I was there, man. I was there. I remember I was there at Fort Campbell. That's where I was stationed at. And they had the Bass Pro Shop boats floating down the interstate, dude. That was a crazy time. What other programs have you used did you use any of your schooling? Did you use anything else besides the Honor Foundation? Since you've gotten out that you've gained a little bit of I guess, value from?
Yeah, for sure. So like when I got out, I used the GI Bill to get a counseling certificate. And so I became a drug and alcohol counselor, and I did that for about 2 years. I was working in the nonprofit space, working with civilians, doing drug and alcohol counseling for career felons and homeless people. And so I did that for a couple of years, and like that, just doing that and I went through a lot of mental health stuff myself, and then became a mental health provider. And like that was super helpful, because now I use that in everything that I do, right? I still end up counseling people. I talk to people in that vein. Like I do a Wednesday group with combat vets, medics, and corpsmen. And so I use those same counseling tips and tricks that I learned at UCSD. I use it on them. And then I use it for like executive coaching that I do as well. So like help business people like make better decisions.
Okay. So if someone's like a corpsman or a medic, is that something that you do locally, or how would someone find you for any of these things? Is it open to like, all 50 states, or what's your deal on that?
So I volunteer doing this at the vet center, which like
Okay,
The
I
vet
got you.
centers, yeah, they're not VA specifically, but they're VA affiliated. So like you just find a vet center in your area, and they probably have like the same types of groups. But yeah, I do the one out here in Liberty Station.
How you like doing it?
Um, it's a different animal, like it's it's interesting for me because as a former combat medic, like I know where these guys are, exactly where they are, and like they know that I know what I'm talking about. So like,
Yeah,
if it's a corpsman who was greenside, meaning that he was a Navy corpsman who worked with the Marines, and dude's got issues from being in Fallujah and losing a bunch of his Marines. Like, yeah, I could talk to you about that all day long, right? Because it's all about like understanding your role in it, and like what is it that you're holding on to, and how can I help you figure out how to let it go.
I was just gonna ask you, like, if people are listening right now and they were in Fallujah or anywhere else and they're a medic, like that's pretty much what you guys go over, and what else do you talk to them about? Because obviously, like you said, there's no one better than you or anyone that's similar to you that's gone through the same stuff. Because I feel like the person on the other side, regardless on who it is, they're gonna be able to respect you more, and they're gonna understand that you relate to them 100% because you've gone through it. You know what I mean? I think that's a lot of people use that for an excuse sometimes. Oh, they don't know what I went through, or oh, they don't know because they didn't do it. But you've done it, dude. So you're
Lots.
there doing it. Yeah, you've done it lots. So it's like,
I'll
what do
tell
you?
you, like,
Go ahead.
from my point of view, like my experience has also been a hindrance in a lot of my personal mental health stuff, because like I was one of the first um, spec ops dudes to go through a lot of these programs for mental health, because it was like 2011. There weren't a lot of SF dudes that were like holding up their hand going, yeah, I'm fucked up, boss, I need to go get some mental health stuff. But
Yeah,
like I would sit in a group, like especially in an active duty environment, like I would be in uniform with like other uniformed personnel, and like everybody in the group would just shut down, right? They would say, well, I haven't been where Joe's been, I haven't done what he's done, I'm not trained the way he's trained. And I'm like, I took all of that, and what I have learned is, especially like when I talk to civilians, because I'm trying to like bridge that military civilian divide.
yeah,
And it's like the content of my stories are not that big a deal, right? When I'm trying to connect to somebody, I connect to them on an emotional level, right? Because like it doesn't matter who you are or where you've been, everybody has experienced love, joy, fear, anger, rage, all of those things. And that's how I connect with people, is just on that level. How you experienced your worst fear and how I experienced my worst fear, those stories are going to be wildly different, right? But that doesn't matter. The idea is you experienced the worst fear in your life. How did you overcome it? What tools did you use? How did you let go of that? What was the narrative that you were telling yourself about your worthiness or lack thereof? Like those are things like I eat that shit for breakfast, man. I
yeah.
love trauma counseling.
Did you love it at first though? When
Um,
you went through it yourself, did you love it?
I had to learn how to do it, because like initially I wanted to, as a like my medic side was coming out, and I wanted to like plug the holes, put the tourniquet on, let's fix this person, do that whole thing. And then like in counseling, like it's an inside job, man. I can't make you happy.
Right. Absolutely not. Yeah.
That's it, man.
You're right, though, dude. So essentially, you're trying to help people like know that the ball's in their court at the end of the day. No matter like you could tell them everything they want to hear, everything that they need to know, but it's up to us as the other individual in the conversation to take the action.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I can walk with you, but I can't walk it for you.
Yeah. So what do most people that you counsel struggle with the most? Is there something that's a common denominator in that scenario?
Well, like for like medics and corpsmen, like the loss of their people that's the hardest thing. What I have found in my limited anecdotal experience is that the only two people that never forget their dead are the moms and the medics. The wives move on, the friends move on, the job moves on. Like everybody else, they move on. They might go visit your gravesite, go to Arlington, whatever. But like the people who have trouble moving on are the medics and the moms. and they hold it the same, right? And they think there was something that they could have done, there was some way they could have prevented it. And the truth of the matter is, it's not like it's shit happens, man. And like, people have choices and they make their own decisions and they go their own way, and sometimes their way ends up traumatic death. Like, that's
Right.
them's the cards, man.
You're right. Did you ever think like that at the beginning of your venture?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's I got 7 of mine that didn't make it home, and I struggled for like the better part of a decade with those, and I was going over, even though I knew that like my dudes, what killed them was not survivable in any way, shape, or form. And like, I still went over it and over it and over it for years. And I told myself all kinds of lies and how terrible I was. And maybe if I'd moved faster, or maybe, if I moved slower, I wouldn't have missed it or whatever. But like, the reality was, like, bullets and bombs kill people, period.
Absolutely. Yeah. And was that like kind of like the factor that you had to just come to of like, dude, there was like, you just came to a realization? Did somebody help you, or did you just get to that point by yourself and like, damn, you know what, I did the best I could, and I have to move on?
I mean, it was both, man. I had tons of people who helped me out. And they taught me to talk to myself and to let it go, right? And I did a ton of reading, a ton of books, and like I said, you name it, man, I've done it. So like, meditation, and, just sitting with people and talking, and like just having people just sit there while I cry my eyes out, and like just doing it. And you just got to walk through it. I just had to walk through it.
Hey, good for you for doing that, man. I'm sure you're obviously in a way better place than you sounded like you were several years ago, and appreciate what you're doing for veterans. All the people that you're helping, the corpsmen, the medics, the coaching, because you're sharing your knowledge, you're sharing your expertise. You could just say, screw it, I'm retired, I don't need to do shit. I'm gonna sit here in San Diego and eat tacos and go to tennis camp or something like that. But you're giving your time back. But I think that's what a lot of people do that are leaders, man. We come from an environment, even before the military, you're probably a leader, just like a lot of other people, that you're used to doing stuff like that. You don't want to be doing nothing. You want to do something valuable with your time, and it seems like you found the perfect fit for what you're doing. So good for you, man. I'm glad that you were able to come on here and share your experience. But I got to ask you the most important question of the day, man. What was your favorite MRE? That's what we're all here to hear.
Oh, dude.
Or just say Army child. Usually I just say, like, sometimes I say DFAC, but they're like, I never went to the DFAC. Or, I mean, I guess you might have some good ones. You probably didn't even have military cooks sometimes, like out in wherever the hell you were.
Yeah, but like when we didn't have cookies or anything like that, like we would be surviving. Like they'd be sending us those cereal breakfast cereals. So you get like a thing of Fruit Loops that you're supposed to pour milk in. It's like, that's all you get, man. You get one of those, and we'll see you next week, man. Like, don't eat it all. And I'm like, oh shit, man. Yeah, man. I mean, I went through, dude, I started the MREs when they were still in like brown bags, man. And they were like oatmeal cookie bars that were in the shape of a giant rectangle. So, I mean, yeah, I was a jalapeno cheese spread freak. So like anything that had that, like, I'm down with that. That's currency for me. I accept that as a form of payment.
I got you. I'm a second palate, dude. I got you. I got something for you, man. No problem. Man, you used to eat that with the horses, right? You and the horse share the jalapeno cheese spread and the wheat crackers and the bread.
That wheat bread, man. Yeah, those crackers. I'll tell you what, that one horse that let me just fall off of her like that, like she became barbecue, man. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, man, they do it in Italy, dude. They eat horses, man. They do that, dude.
Yeah.
Horse heart, horse everything, dude. But it's no different. You got anyone that we could maybe do like a call to action, sort of like what Brage did for you? But you got anyone that maybe would want to come on here and share their story, help other vets, just.
I mean, Brage tagged a bunch of us in that LinkedIn post, so like, you're gonna be busy, man. If like half of those people respond, like, you're gonna be set up for a while.
Let's go, man. I'm ready for it, man.
Yeah,
I'm ready. But all right, that's good. Hey, you got any closing remarks or anything like that you want to put out there before we wrap it up for the day?
kindness costs you nothing, man.
Coming from an SF guy, y'all, respect, man. He's not an asshole. Not all, not all like that, man. You got to get away from the stigmas. But you're right, dude. No, you don't know what someone else is going through. It's easy to say. Sometimes we all think we're going through the ringer, and unfortunately, fortunately, when you think of it, we have so much to be thankful for, and what we have in this life, man. You go to these other countries, you've seen it. You amputating kids' legs. You've done it. I've seen kids sitting in Africa with a damn dog bowl around their neck with no limbs, no extremities, dude. They got nothing. They should be in school. They don't even have the chance to do it. So you're right. Be kind. You don't know what someone else is going through, and just keep up the good fight. So I appreciate you being here today, brother. And hopefully we can, keep the communications open. And if next time you're down in Florida, let me know, man. We'll link up and do something. And if I ever make it to California, we'll have to get it going too. But one day, probably, I don't know, man, do a reunion for everyone I did a pot. When I make it big, when I get on the Joe Rogan show and let them know, or get on something, say we're gonna have a podcast reunion, dude. Have all. I don't know how many people I'm gonna interview. Hopefully thousands by the time I get older. So, man, just wanted to say thank you, and let's keep it up, dude. So, thanks everyone. Hey, no problem. Thanks everybody for listening in to another episode. If you guys know anyone that's a veteran or in the military, make sure they have an exit plan if they're in the military or they're thinking about going in. If you're a veteran, you want to share your experience, the real 1%, hit me up. Be happy to have you on for episode and listen to your story. You guys' voice and your story actually matters. Don't think just because Joe was in SF, doesn't matter. It's not you against Joe. It's not me against Joe. It's you against you. It doesn't matter what someone else did. We're all our own person. So keep that in mind and keep up the good work. Until next time, we'll talk to y'all soon. Take care.